Welcome to the Business Mechanic Show. This is your host, Vaughn Sigmon, co-founder of Results-Driven Leadership, where we help you fix your people problems. This is one that came to me last week. During a session with one of my clients, problem solving, getting to the root cause, and it just pointed out the need for not only the importance of making sure your frontline managers all recognize that your supervisors, your leads, your captains, that first level up into management, those folks are the single most important group of people within your organization to make sure they have leadership and management training, especially leadership training. Because as I think back through my years, very often, if not most often, the issues, the fires I had to put out, the situations that became hairy created extra work for me, my management team, were very often created by these leads, these supervisors, these captains, those first level managers. So let me clarify what we're talking about. They're not quite top management, but they're crucial to the team's daily grind. Some companies see these roles as stepping stones, which I always did. For others, it's a long-term position. In fact, the company I was dealing with that really motivated me to do this podcast today, some of these folks have been in the job for 10 plus years. Now, I just want to make a quick point. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm just in the past 2 days moving into a new office here in beautiful Signal Hill, California. I can see forever around me. It's a beautiful spot. I'm excited about moving into the new offices here. We're expanding. We've got a lot of things going on. It's great to be here, but nothing's decorated yet. So you don't see the typical backdrop that you see in my other videos. Just wanted to put that caveat out there, that warning. So anyway, frontline managers, supervisors, captains, leads. Here's the thing. These folks are extremely valuable to the day-to-day execution of whatever your business is. It could be the accounting supervisor, it could be the AR supervisor, it could be the shipping supervisor, it could be the forklift supervisor, whatever it is, the sales lead. They're the gears in the machine of day-to-day operations, yet their training often doesn't reflect that importance. Imagine your life without them. But we often, if not almost always, invest almost nothing. So this is a shout out to their critical role and a nudge to you to give them the respect and the resources they deserve. Set them up for success. They got there because they were functionally very experienced. They were a functional expert, subject matter expert. They were very good at whatever role they were in. So you elevate them. Common, that's the accidental manager syndrome. And then we expect them to start managing people. Based on what training? Very often there's none. Little to none. Why are they your go-to managers? Imagine you're in a shipping warehouse. Your supervisor, only slightly your senior by age and experience, is your go-to for everything. That's your answer machine. That's your shipping Google. And they're not sitting in some distant office. They're right there next to you with the knowledge, with the how-tos. They assign tasks. They give feedback. In fact, they give probably more feedback, have more influence on your frontline team's ability to execute and do a good job than anybody else in the organization. They're there and they were promoted to make your life run smoothly. Or not. To you, the frontline worker, the supervisor is the face of the company. Always remember, people work for people. They don't work for companies. And if that's their direct supervisor, the frontline worker works for them. Next person they work for is you, the manager. And next person they work for may be the vice president, the next person on up the org chart. But the person that's next to them, handling them all day long, giving them their responses, giving them assignments, giving them feedback, is this frontline supervisor, lead, captain, whatever you call them. And how they treat you as the frontline employee, what they say, how they say it, how they treat me reflects directly on the company's values and priorities. They're not chatting with the CEO over coffee every day. They don't go running to the CEO in most organizations to get their problems solved, their vacations, their pay issues, their work assignments solved. It's that supervisor. That's your, as an employee, frontline employee, your direct line to understanding what the company wants, what the company expects of me. They set the standard to you as the frontline employee. But investing in them is a dilemma. Most companies just do not see the need or the value or the ROI for investing in this low-level supervisory position. But they have a huge impact on the execution of your company and on potentially creating problems and issues and fires for you further up the line. And so while CEOs may be the face of the company to the outside world, frontline managers are the face to the internal world, the employees. Their influence is huge, yet somehow they're often the last in line when it comes to training and development resources, when it comes to leadership and management. They'll get functional expertise. They'll learn how to use the new ERP system, but they're not taught how to train. They're not taught how to communicate well with people. They're not taught to handle the soft skills, the part that really impacts how someone feels about working for your company, working for you. It's the accidental manager syndrome. Many frontline managers, supervisors, captains, leads, etc., they're thrust into these roles because they were good at something else. Almost never because they're a great leader. And this gap in leadership leads to a whole host of dysfunctions because it's just not good enough to be good functionally. Leading this team, whether it's another person, another 3 or 4 people, that requires a whole different set of skills. Stop and think about that. You, as a manager, may have never gotten those skills either. Cascades down through the organization. Let me just share an example so we all know where Vaughn, the business mechanic, is coming from. And now, I won't talk about the experience and the aha moment I had last week, but here's one I actually read an article on. It's uncanny. A supervisor of a company has a really good idea, and I mean that sincerely. They have a great heart. They've got a situation, and they want to be help to this situation. But they don't have the communication skills. They don't have the confidence. And they certainly do not possess the critical thinking skills to avoid a complete disaster. So they were very well-meaning with an idea, a solution to a problem they recognized, but did not know how to make sure it was a great solution. They had a team member who was very sick, and they were going to need an extended amount of time to recover from this illness. Now, I don't know much more than that. I don't know whether they had disability insurance, etc. All I know is they were going to need a long time, and they were out of sick time, and they were out. This employee was out of vacation time, no sick time, no vacation time. And the employee was in the unfortunate position of not only being very ill, but they were soon, in a matter of days, going to be without pay. This big-hearted, meaning manager thinks, heck, I'm just going to put a message out to all the employees and ask them, would you donate your sick time to this very sick coworker? Wow, what a nice human gesture that was. And it blew right up in the face because it ended up causing all kinds of distractions. Because here's what happens. As well-meaning as this gesture and message was, it was not received in the way this well-meaning supervisor intended it to. Because it was received as, why do I have to give up my sick time? Why doesn't the company do something to provide some special pay to this person? Why should my poor ass sacrifice for this rich company? It's all about these perceptions. Disaster and dysfunction ensued after this, just making everybody's work harder for a number of days. And it also changed the atmosphere, the whole working culture. It unwinded what was probably a pretty good work environment. It ended up creating a really poor view of the company that never would have been there had this well-meaning supervisor not taken the steps they did. They didn't have the critical thinking skills. They didn't have the communication skills. They didn't have the experience. They didn't have the forethought, the business acumen to think this through before they took it on their own to solve this problem. Intention, poorly received. Here's another one. You need another one. Here's another one. And I personally experienced this one. Could not believe it. This was when in a previous employer of mine. There's someone in the company. They happen to be in human resources. They have this personal opinion that tattoos are tacky. Customers in our company shouldn't be seeing these trashy tattoos. That's me. I love tattoos. My wife has tattoos. My kids have tattoos. Judge me if you want to, but this person was judging negatively of tattoos. And so she took it upon herself, in her frontline authority, to send out a dress code update that all tattoos had to be covered up. She consults no one. Sends out the email to the entire company, 20,000 employees, announcing this no tattoo policy. And kaplooey, half the team, of which has tattoos, they're not only insulted, but they're ready to quit. I started receiving phone calls from my location manager saying, what the hell are we thinking? These people are eating me alive. They're ripping my face off. Because the employees receiving that email thought this had been approved from the top. And it wasn't. This problem was created by a supervisor who didn't have the EQ to know much better. They didn't have the critical thinking to work through the ramifications of this. didn't have the communication forethought to say, hold on, before I send out an email to 20,000 people arbitrarily changing the company's policy on dress code and tattoos, maybe I ought to check with somebody on that. Their power had gone to their head. There's all kinds of issues that we have better things to do than to have to deal with this. But these are the fires I talk about. These are these situations that people who had they been invested in, these situations wouldn't have been created, likely would not have been created. If you got frontline supervisors, leads, captains, whatever you call them, there are some non-negotiable leadership skills that starting tomorrow or very soon, you need to make some form of investment. If you don't have it, invest in yourself, but you're listening to the Business Mechanic podcast, and thank you for doing that. And while I'm thanking you for that, the podcast continues to grow. Thank you all for your loyalty. It's very honoring to me. That is, all you tens of thousands of people are listening to this show. Please share it. Please subscribe. That helps the algorithm move up the chart so more people can be exposed to what we're talking about here. I've got lots of emails and LinkedIn messages that come through all the time, giving me appreciation for what I'm sharing, and I appreciate you back. So please help me out, get these messages out to more people. Subscribe, share the Business Mechanic podcast on whatever platform you're listening to us on. YouTube, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for that. So the non-negotiable skills to leadership. Starting tomorrow that they need to have, you need it for yourself. But again, you're listening to the show, you're working on that. But find a resource for their ability to listen and their ability to talk. It's like being a good host at a party. You need to listen to what your guest, in this case, your team, are saying and communicate in a way that doesn't make them regret coming to the party. Don't be insulting people. Don't be saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Yes. And words are powerful. And many people don't embrace that. Many people don't have the experience, the knowledge to know that we're creating a perception with our words all day, every day. And we've got to be careful and thoughtful about what we say, how we say it. More importantly, we need to learn to listen and avoid the yeah, but of just deflecting ideas, suggestions, problems. It's really poor leadership. So talking and listening, skill one, active listening, communication skills, they have to have that as basic number one. Basic number two, they need to understand how to set goals, so goal setting, and then how to coach, train, develop, train the trainer. This is about making sure everyone knows why they're at the party in the first place and helping them not to spill their drinks all over the carpet while they're there. Because if they know how to set goals, manage people to those goals, coach people in their skill sets to achieve to those goals, we're not spilling our drinks. We're getting to the goal. Really important skill set. And the third thing, team building. Essentially, you're trying to get a group of people who may not even like the same music to dance together without stepping on each other's toes. Think about your work team. Think about the folks, they're all kinds of different backgrounds and ethnicities and demographics and ages and all these different things. They've all been raised by different families and parents and situations. Some have had easier lives, some have had harder lives. They all have different opinions, religions, political ideas. Team building is all about getting these folks to get along and work together to achieve that goal. And if they don't have team building skills, they're going to struggle. They struggle, you struggle. You're no better than this supervisor, lead / captain, because their team is no better than them. That's the foundation of most issues in organizations, because you're never going to achieve people, product, process. You can have the best product, you can have the best process on the planet, but if you don't have the right people supporting you to execute that process, to sell and ship your product, you're going to struggle. You're never going to maximize your opportunities. Now, let me move on to the elephant in the room, which, in my opinion, is the belief that frontline leaders are like plastic cutlery of the corporate world. They're useful, but we just toss them away. They're not worth investing in. And I'm sorry, this is where things go sideways. Because by not investing in these folks, we're basically setting the stage for a pretty dismal party. Poor productivity, endless firefighting problems, high turnover, leading to a general lack of motivation, or the party poopers. Your problems come from here, folks. And here's a business mechanic truth bomb for you. Leadership training isn't a drive-through car wash. You just don't roll in dirty and roll out sparkling with leadership prowess through a weekend training, reading a book, watching a video. It doesn't work that way. As I say often, leadership development is a long-term journey, and it needs to start here. Theirs needs to start the day they're promoted to this new position of authority. It's more like learning to cook a gourmet meal, watching a YouTube video, or reading a recipe book won't make you a chef overnight. I got to go cook the meal. It takes practice. It takes making mistakes. It takes you as their coach being able to help them learn from those mistakes, recover from those mistakes, not make those mistakes again, but it comes from practice and real-time feedback. That's how we learn. Real learning, the kind that sticks, happens over time. It requires patience on your part and their part. It's about applying what you learn, seeing what works, what doesn't, and adjusting accordingly. It's a process, not a one-off event. We learn by doing. We build skills by repeating what we do over and over until we get it right. The basic competency curve. And as I often do, I'm going to put this just in plain old English, explaining why it's a bad idea to use tiny gray text on a website. People don't magically absorb and retain everything they hear or see in a day-long workshop or a weekend retreat. As I've said a few times, people from time to time try to hire me to do that. Much as I'd love to earn that money, that's easy money. I won't do it. It's against my ethics. It is a waste of their money. As much as I'd like to pocket the money, I will not do it because it never works. I've got a new client that I'm just beginning to engage with, big company, that has a CEO that's really invested in training his team leadership. They read books. He talks about it, over a lunch and learn every week, and he still has a highly dysfunctional leadership team. Why? Because we're just talking about it. There's no commitment to going and practicing this stuff. So they've never ingrained the skills, these leadership skills that their team needs to learn. It's all just a nice conversation. We don't get anywhere with that. Imagine learning to ride a bike happened by just watching a video. You watch someone do it once and you never fall off again. It's ridiculous, right? You learn by doing. Hey, do your frontline supervisors, leaders, etc., did they know that too? Do they just tell people during their training and expect them to magically know how to go do it? They need to learn how to coach, team build. It's all about getting your hands dirty, figuratively, of course, making mistakes, trying it again, learning from those mistakes. You need to embrace mistakes, their mistakes. They need to embrace their team's mistakes. That's how we learn. Here's a fun fact that's really not so fun. You read a book, you watch a video, you go to a weekend seminar that your company paid $30,000 for. That's great, right? Woo! Tony Robbins. You'll remember roughly 15% of what was covered 2 weeks later. 15%. That's like forgetting where you parked your car 85% of the time. Those aren't very good odds. That's not a very good return on investment. But yet people spend $30,000 to go to a Tony Robbins seminar and all they come away with is blisters on their feet. Flip the script and focus on one leadership skill at a time in the order of which I previously listed them. But really dive deep into it, commit to it, practice it with your frontline manager, frontline leader, your frontline supervisor until they can do it. They can do it in their sleep. And once they can do it in their sleep, they've reached the other side of the competency curve. So now they're becoming unconsciously competent. That's where the magic starts happening. It's like leveling up in a video game. So when we talk about frontline leaders, we're talking about the folks who are in the trenches making things happen. They're so important to you. They're the ones who need these skills from day one. Investing in them isn't just a nice to have. It's a building the foundation of your company's house must have. And just like in home construction, it's all about the foundation. It's not just helpful, it's absolutely critical for everything that comes after. So let's start treating leadership and development like the essential foundational work it really is. After all, you really wouldn't want your house built on sand, would you? Thinking that your frontline workers, all they need to do is a quick seminar or read a book. I've heard that so many times. We're looking for a quick fix solution. We can feel good. Oh, we trained them. They read 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. They must be a great leader now. As I say that, you know how ridiculous that sounds. They need to become a master chef. Cook the meal, serve the meal, cook the meal again, serve a better meal, cook the meal again. It's an even better meal until they've got it dialed in. Investing in your frontline leaders with time, patience, and genuine support pays off big time. And it will be the difference between a forgettable party and one that people talk about for years. The same for the latter, shall we? So let's bottom line this. Let's wrap it up. Investing in frontline leaders isn't just good for them. It's essential for the entire organization's health. It's essential to your success as their boss. These leaders are the foundation of your company's culture and certainly daily operations. And by you investing in them with your time, support, and resources, investing in their development, you're building a stronger, more resilient organization that you will be a benefactor of. Their success is your success. You will never be as successful as you can be until you make them as successful as they can be. The transformational triangle of change. Let's start giving these frontline managers the resources, respect, recognition that they deserve. After all, a user-friendly workplace starts with supporting those who guide your daily workforce. And I'll get this plug in. You can start with results-driven leadership training and development for only $47 a month. Think about it. Invest in it. How can you not?